Shalom Israel. Just another lesson. I actually ran into came across a book that that I have from when I was in college. And I don't know if I told brothers that I have an English degree, and because of me doing extensive work studying English, that's how I'm able to know a lot of simple things in English. Like, for example, when people say that the Bible was written in Old English, I'm able to tell you that that's false. The Bible was not written in Old English, and I'm going to prove it here with this information here. All right. So first, we're going to start with the origin of the English language. Started with something called Proto-Indo-European. So if you read a dictionary and you see the word pi stands for Proto-Indo-European. So the assumption by them is that, because the English language does kind of actually borrow from Sanskrit. So that's the reason why you get Proto-Indo-European. Proto-Indo-European languages were dispersed from where they were originally spoken in Eastern Europe or Asia Minor by migration or otherwise across Europe and to east to India. The result was 8 to 10, depending on criteria, branches of the Indo-European family. So English belongs to the West Germanic group of the Germanic branch of the Indo-European family. So look, you can read that in the book by J.P. Mallory, In Search of the Indo-Europeans. So I just want to touch on that because the real English, the English that they spoke in England sounded very much like German. If you listen to Germans speak, if you study German words such as Liebe means love in German, right? Just one example. Man, I'm trying to think of some more, and that's when my brain draws a blank. But Liebe means love in German, and there's a lot of examples like that. I just can't think of any offhand. My mind's drawing a blank. Right here it says Germanic. It is not known when the Germanic separated from the other Indo-European languages, nor is it known how long Germanic existed as one language. It says all Germanic languages have even more common vocabulary than Indo-European languages generally. So what that means is that the Germanic languages, the ones that derive from Germanic languages, are more common with each other than they are with Indo-European. So now let's go to Old English. The dates for Old English when it was spoken in England is from 500 to 1100 AD. Traditional date for the beginning of Old English, that's 449 AD. Date of Anglo-Saxon invasion of England. So when the Anglo-Saxons invaded England, that's when they started speaking Germanic, or Old English, rather. Date according to Bede, or however you want to pronounce it, who wrote in Latin, because Latin is another language that English borrows from, in the 8th century, and was translated into English in the 9th century. See selection on page 119. Late 900s, manuscript of Beowulf was produced. Beowulf is a book written in English, but it's Old English, and if you read it, if you have a German person reading it, they'll be able to read it a lot easier than you that speaks English, even though it is considered technically Old English. The vocabulary was almost entirely Germanic. New words were formed by compounding, meaning that they combine words to create new words. So the English language basically borrowed a lot of words and put them together from the Germanic language. Old English was highly inflected. For example, it had grammatical gender, masculine, feminine, neuter, case endings for nouns and adjectives, as well as case forms for pronouns. Word order slightly less fixed than in modern English. less use of function words, including prepositions and auxiliary verbs, than in modern English, and it had no relative pronouns. Old English also had paratactic syntax, no subordination of clauses. All right, so page 114. We're going to get to Middle English. Middle English it really started at 1066, but they give a rough date of 1100 to 1500. All right, so this is the Norman Conquest after the Battle of Hastings. So Norman is the French. You know, that's why a lot of the English, what's the word I'm looking for? Military language is actually French. So you have commander, commandant, captain. A lot of those words are actually borrowed from French. So it says Norman French became the language of power in England. English speaking nobility and church officials were removed. French speakers took their place. So a lot of shit happened to make a language go from German to French to what we speak today. The King of England ceased to be Duke of Normandy. Less reason to insist on speaking French. The Black Death destroyed large numbers of laborers, English speakers. This is the Bubonic Plague, by the way. Those who survived were then in a better bargaining position. Parliament opened with a speech in English and passed a statute requiring the use of English in lawsuits. Death of Chaucer. Characteristics of modern Middle English included great simplification of the inflectional system, borrowing of English vocabulary. So this is where you get all the words in English that are actually borrowed from another language that derives from Proto-Indo-European. It says, because changes in pronunciation made many inflectional endings sound alike, word order became very important. Beginning of hypotactic syntax, use of subordinate clauses, which is highly valued in modern English writing. So now we get to the modern English. So this is how you know that the Bible was not written in Old English. You know, you already passed the Middle English. Now you get the modern English, 1500 to present, right? Early modern English was, 1611. That's when the Bible was translated into English. 1476, Caxton's printing press availability of printing leads to new national standard growth of literacy, vocabulary borrowing from Latin and Greek. So now there's going to be more books available because the printing press has been created. Great vowel shift. Cause unknown resulted in changed pronunciation, exacerbated misfit between pronunciation and spelling. So that's why, because the English language is borrowing from different other languages, that's the reason why there's a big misfit between pronunciation and spelling. For example, I'm trying to think of something like the word phantom, right? We know that the F makes the sound that the PH makes. But because of English borrowing from other languages, because the F is really like most F's in English, when you read the word in the Hebrew, it comes from the word pa. So the PH is really the more ancient and accurate, but we created the F to simplify it. Yet there are still many words in the English language to this day that have the PH for the F sound. 1616, death of Shakespeare. So modern English, also called contemporary English, spoken from 1650 to present. Now, mind you, this is still the English that they speak in England. They're not talking about the country-ass English that we speak in America. So it says 1650 to 1800, appeal to authority, new interest in English grammar, hope that English could be perfected and made permanent. Criteria for rightness included consistency, Greek and Latin grammar and etymology, reason. 1800 to present, English becomes increasingly important as a world language, the vocabulary continues to grow. So what that means is that as English has become a very important language in the world, also it continues to grow as a language, and the words, there's more words now than there were back then. Now, semantic shift. It is normal. Now, this is very important. To understand the semantic shift, this is why we have to understand like words like where it says, no man shall save you, right? In the scriptures. Because of a semantic shift, that's why that word is no longer being used the way it was back then. So it says, it is normal for words to change meanings as they are used. The term semantic shift is used to describe such changes. These changes take place both because younger speakers at any given time may not know exactly what older speakers mean by a particular word, and because words describe the world, society, technology, etc., it is constantly changing. For example, chauffeur literally means one who warms. Basically, the person that warms the car, so to speak. Was originally used for the person who stoked a locomotive. Of course, locomotives no longer run on coal and don't need stoking. However, the meaning has shifted to something like a person who takes care of a vehicle and makes transportation easier. In contemporary life, that's a driver. Notice that we use the word now only to apply to someone who drives for someone else, whether it be someone employed for that purpose or perhaps a mother who drives her children to music lessons and play dates. Semantic shift goes on constantly. Words referring to things that are immediately observable and that change very little are less susceptible to changes in meanings than words implying social relationships or describing technical change. Words that apply to changing situations, both social and technical, are very susceptible. So in other words, words that are used for things that constantly change are themselves subject to change in the way we use them. A brief look at the lines from Beowulf on page 121 reminds us that words like 15 and land have not undergone changes in meaning. On the other hand, the word pen, which now refers for most speakers to a ballpoint, and 2 generations ago referred to a steel point stuck into a holder or to a fountain pen, once referred to a sharpened feather or quill used for writing. The word pen is derived from pinna, the Latin word for feather. We're still using a word that started out meaning feather, but for most of us, what's important about a pen is what it does, not what it's made of. So in other words, we use the word pen. The word pen literally comes from the word feather, when they used to take a feather, dip it in ink, and write. Now, to this day, we still use the word pen. So this is just a brief little bit of information about the English language. This is look at this right here. The moral of the story is words change. The usage and all of that, everything changes over time. And this is why it was also important for us to study the scriptures, because the scriptures don't change. We have to study the change of language, the change of the English language, so we could go and understand why things were written in 1611 the way they were. All right, but with that, I'm gonna just say shalom, and I know my handwriting's sloppy, but shalom.